Okay, hey angels, it's July 20th. Oh my gosh, time's flying as always. I am not going to say much today as far as starting because we have an awesome, amazing friend and leader that I just want to give her all of our time. Just real fast, I just hope you're taking notes for reunion, and when you're thinking about your sequence of taking notes, maybe have different color highlighters and different like markers so you can kind of section out where you want to go back to what thoughts, so you can make sure that you're going to go back to those notes. That's my biggest thing I wanted to talk about, is because the biggest mistake most consultants do is they go to these reunions, they go to these seminars, and they take a book of notes and then they never look at it again and they don't know where to start. So when you're thinking about taking notes, make sure that you're breaking them down into maybe categories of like leadership or, parties or whatever thoughts that you can kind of color coordinate and go, oh yeah, I want to focus on this today or whatever. And it'll just kind of bring you back instead of feeling like you're just overwhelmed with a bunch of just things bleeding into each other. Make sure you're writing down who the reference is, the person, how they made you feel, what stuck out, things like that. So if you do, friend them on Facebook or whatever, go to their YouTube channel and like their channel, why you're doing that. So I can't wait to hear what everybody's thinking about and their experiences. So without further ado, you guys know the drill. Go to your news tab, make sure you know what's going on. Lots of things are always popping up. We have like the 40% off for our MLB, all that stuff. So same old drill, but just make sure you're doing that. You don't want to miss out. We only have, a few more days left we have a good amount of time, but still a little amount of time in the end of this catalog. So without further ado, I would love to introduce my dear friend, Superstar Director, Kelly Cano. She's going to share with you a little bit about herself, but the coolest thing about our friendship is we literally met at the top of the Parthenon in Greece.
Right.
And so you don't really get to say that you've met your friends in like amazing places like that unless you're with Scentsy, right? And so her and I have been roommates for like when we were Star Directors. We went to Star Director Summit for the first time together and roomed. We've just had lots of connections. I've learned a lot from her trainings, just watching her journey, the things she shared with me along the way. And her heart is what just stood out from the second I met her. She's just the most lovable person and friendly person, which is why she's so successful, because people are drawn to her. And when you start to hear her speak, you're going to know why. And so without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to you. I'm going to mute myself, Kelly. And if you could just share a little bit about your story, about how you got started and all the stuff that you think is important for us to know and what will help us learn about what you're going to talk about today. Thank you.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks for having me, Jess. So like she said, my name is Kelly Cano, and I am a Superstar Director. I live in El Paso, Texas. And for those of you who are not familiar with where El Paso is, we are on the border of Texas and Mexico and New Mexico. So it's like the little west part of Texas. I have been on my Scentsy journey for almost 11 years. At the end of this month, I'll celebrate my 11th year anniversary, or Scentiversary, whatever you want to say. I originally started because I had two young little chickadees at home. I never anticipated staying at home with them ever, because I love to work. And when I had my son, I could never see myself going back to work. So we hadn't planned on staying home. We just kind of went with it and literally scraped by for 2-3 years. And then I had a daughter, and we were fine. Honestly, I don't feel like money definitely did not drive me to be here. It was more of the sense of community, something that I needed to do for myself, that I needed something to call mine. So I was extremely shy. And when I get into a group setting, I get very shy, but one-on-one, I'm good. So I decided to sell Scentsy. Why I thought I was crazy, but it was like, okay, well, I love candles. I could spend hours at the grocery store sniffing all the Yankee candles and all the things. So anyway, I joined and had a party, very, very, very out of my comfort zone, but I actually loved it because it got me out of the house and I was talking to adults. So I forced myself to get uncomfortable more and more and more, because the more uncomfortable I got, the more I got out of my house, the more I had something for me, the more that I was away from my kids, which I love them. All the things that makes me sound like a horrible mom, but I do absolutely love my kids. And funny thing is, now 11 years later, I homeschool them. So now, you know, you go through these phases in life, and now I'm at that phase where it's like, I just want to stay home with them. I don't want them to go away. So we've been homeschooling for the last 5 years. So things change. And I still love, now we do this more together because they're well, both of them are almost teenagers. And so it's fun. It's funner to be with them and have them help me. So enough about me, but I'm not sure how long you guys have been on your journey, but you'll see if you haven't been on your journey as long as I have and Jesse has. Things change a lot in our business. And as you see right now, we're going through this huge hyper growth. We're changing. Maybe some things that you used to do in your business are not working for you right now because, for example, if you were an events person, events aren't really where it's at this moment. So we have to have that growth mindset to be able to change at the drop of a hat. And that's one thing that really got me in a stuck position for quite some time. I promoted to director within 4 months of me joining Scentsy. And then honestly, I don't remember for star director. I think it was like a year later, maybe a year and a half later, I promoted to star director. And there I stayed for many, many years. And I could not get over the hump for several reasons. One, I got comfortable, and things that were working for me at the beginning weren't necessarily working anymore, and things didn't come as easy for me as it used to come. And I kind of reverted back into my quiet shell. I was very complacent. I got fairly content and happy where I was. You know, life happened. I went through some health issues. So there was a lot of things, right, that I could have let my journey stop me and fail at that exact moment. But I chose to ride the wave. I chose to just, you know, 2 things. One is I stopped comparing myself to others. When I stopped doing that, I saw myself go right back up the journey. When I was playing the comparison game, I was like this, or I was going down. It was not a pretty sight. So, and I apologize. I kind of just was not going to talk about this tonight, and now I am. So here, if I squirrel, please kind of tune me back in. But anyway, so I find that when I was not being adaptive to my situation and the current status of what was going on in the world, I found myself not in a growth mindset, and I find myself not growing. So with that being said, we're going to go through things in our life always, that whether it be circumstances that we're in now, or whether it be health or anything. I mean, there's really lots of things that we could choose on a day-to-day basis that we could say, I'm not going to work my business today because whatever, insert anything any excuse that we've all had, right? But it's when we show up every single day and we learn, like Jessie had mentioned. It's funny, she mentioned the color coding for reunion, and this is on my desk right now because and that's another thing I wanted to talk to you guys about too, was in my reunion notebook, I am going through and I'm color coding all the things, all my notes, because that is so important, because you are going to hear so much information. Anyway, so back to what I was saying was that we have to be willing to grow, and we have to be willing to learn, and we have to be able to adjust to any situation that we're in. So one of those things that has helped me to finally grow, and then even once I reached superstar director, I went through this period of like plateau, because again, you get complacent, and whatever the case may be. If you hear nothing else from what I have to say today, is don't work toward a title ever. You do the things that you have to do to get to where you want to be, but don't work toward lead consultant or star consultant or director, because once you reach that, you kind of get lost. You kind of get in this place like, well, now what? I've arrived. Now what? But if you continually do the things that make you grow as a person and grow in a business, that's where you'll start to see the success. Because I don't care if you're a Circle of Excellence, if you're Orville and Heidi Thompson, you always have something you can learn every single day. So constantly be growing your mind. So with that, my topic that I really wanted to talk to you tonight about was systems and how my systems have evolved in the last 11 years. And I've been all over the board, and I've had systems that have worked phenomenal for years. And then it's like, all of a sudden one day, it just doesn't work for me anymore. So I'm going to challenge you to evaluate what your current system is. And as you're going through all these amazing trainings and all these expos and breakouts and all the things you're hearing at Reunion, I want you to really evaluate what works for you. And don't try to adapt my system or Jesse's system or any other system that you hear unless that's something that you're actually going to implement. So take all the ideas and I want you to write them down, color code them, however you have to do it. And I want you to think about what system works for Cindy or Melissa or Nadia or anybody on the call watching, because that's the system that's going to work the best. So I'll give you some ideas, and I want you to just write down 3 things that you're going to implement by the end of our talk, because you can't implement them all or you will fail, because that's another thing that goes back to the comparison. Well, Kelly does it this way and I can do that, and don't do that. I am a computer person and I'm a pen and paper person, so I'm all over the board. So I'm going to give you a little of both today of what I do. So let's talk first to our techies. Does everybody have this thing called the phone? And it's attached to your hip 24/7. So this is my best weapon. I love Amy. That's really awesome. But I have an iPhone and I have this thing called, and it's on there, it's called Reminders. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but it comes with your iPhone. And if you don't, any reminder app works, but I love this one. It has 3 little color dots. And the cool thing is, it's hard to get there. So the cool thing is that I have 102 today's. So I have them all broken out. So I have potential recruits, important to-dos, orders I have to place, family to-dos, promotions to watch, shooting star dates, my grocery list, because I mean, let's face it, we can't just do business. We're moms and dads and things. So I have potential parties, team tasks, my Sam's list, because you know my husband is addicted to Sam's, training videos and ideas, because I see so many things and it's like I want to implement it, but I can't right then, so I just put it into a little tab here. I keep track of all the sensational start dates for my team. Follow up for customers, even though I still use Amy, but you know there's those times when you just are in the car and you need to remember a follow-up, throw that in there. My baskets that are out, any incentives or challenges that I have going on with my team. Group tasks. I actually just did a decluttering challenge, so that was in there too. And then personal business, I also have one for my directors. And I have a prayer intention list, because have you ever gone through and say, oh, I'll pray for you, and then you forget? So I write them all in here. So that way when I'm sitting down and have my quiet time, I have my prayer list. Okay, so in each of these tasks, I have a subtask, and the great thing I love about this is that you can set a reminder. So I can have it set, I can add a task, I can tell me what day I want to do that task. If it's a task that I do on an ongoing basis, like my monthly mailers, I can set it up for a month to repeat monthly. So then when I finish it that month, I click check, done. Then the next month it comes up again. So it's like, beautiful. It's so beautiful, because I travel pre-COVID. I travel a lot. Sorry, the sun decided to come right into my window. It's been raining all day. Anyway, I travel a lot. So for me, having my binders, which I'm going to show you next, is great right now, but then when I'm traveling, they kind of get bulky to travel with, so then I have my phone, and my phone is with me 24/7. So when I have an extra 5 or 10 minutes, boom, that's what I'm working on. So that's my techie side. Then I have my binders. So my binders, I have binders for all the things. So let's just start. I have a budget binder. So this is where I keep all my receipts until I scan them. I use an app called Self-Employed, which is by QuickBooks, and it also integrates with all my tax software. So I use that, and I scan my receipts in. So, but obviously I don't do that on a daily basis. So I keep all my receipts in here. I keep all my, just my budget, all that. Okay. And you know what this has done for me, you guys, is the binders. It's made me very intentional with what I'm doing, because I don't have a lot of time, as all of us. We are spread very, very thin. So when I sit down to work, I'm very intentional about, okay, right now I'm spending the next 30 minutes on my budget, and that's the only thing I have on my desk. Because if I have too much stuff, you guys, I've been speaking with you for 15 minutes, and you probably have seen I'm a squirrel. So if my desk is a mess, my head is all over the place. Okay, the next one is my personal binder. Okay, so inside my personal binder, I just have like a calendar, and this actually just took place of the Scentsy, the happy planner. And I was going to go to an all happy planner system, and then that overwhelmed my brain, and I went back to the simplicity of just a binder. So I'm transferring things over from the Scentsy binder to here. So bear with me if it's a work in progress. But I have my daily tracking numbers log. And if you're not tracking numbers, you need to be right now. So I have them all printed out for the rest of the year. And I have these little great throwaway tabs, and they just have like all like August, September, October. So that way it's there. So I don't have to worry about come August 1st when it's catalog change and it's so busy and I don't have my number thing, my chart printed. It's already here. I don't have to think about it. So that's that. Then my next tab is my incentive trip tab. So it keeps track, or not just trip, but incentive. So it has my points tracker that I'm working toward. It has my annual sales and annual mentor tracker that I'm working towards. So that way I see it every single day. It's in front of my face every single day. The next little tab, and y'all, if you have a Dollar Tree by you, I got these things at the Dollar Tree. I'm super frugal. So, I love them because they have pockets. They're super amazing. Okay, so the next tab is like my orders, my follow-ups, and my sample request, right? Because I'm doing a new thing with samples that I'll tell you about time providing. I hope my internet, I'm just gonna get full disclosure. So it's like super sunny, and now it's stormy, so hopefully the internet's good. So remember I told you I have a basket party thing on my phone. I also keep a log here. It might seem like double work, but this is what works for me. So because it just depends on what season I'm in. So I kind of do double right now. I'm not used to being home so much. And then I have just orders that I'm placing here. I write them here, and then I just transfer them to an Excel spreadsheet. These are all my pre-orders for like the child. And then on the back, I have all my NFL pre-orders. Sorry. I see Melissa's like this. I was trying to give you a nice workout there. Okay, this is something new I'm doing as a demo product list. When we're not COVID-ish, we're right here, right now, I think El Paso is going backwards in the spectrum. So we're not really getting out much as far as like businesses and things like this. But prior to that, I lend out a lot of product. And so I would forget sometimes where that product was. So this is keeping track of that for me. And then the next one is just thank yous and follow-ups, because honestly, I've started sending out more mail since we've been home, and I have seen a huge return on the mailers that I'm sending out. Okay, so then let's talk about sample requests. So this is another one that I have in my binder as far as sample requests. Being very intentional with my samples has also been a game changer, not just for my business, not just for my sales, but also for recruiting. So what I'm doing with the recruiting, and I actually learned this from another superstar director in the UK. is that what she does, and I've started to do now, is she'll just make up a bunch of samples, and we will message people on Facebook, friends, maybe they're just acquaintances, and we'll say, hey, guess what? I'm making a bunch of samples. I'm mailing them out. Do you want fruity or fresh? We're not giving them an option about which one are they doing? It's either or. And 99% of the time they want both, fruity and fresh. So I'll send them both. And then so, okay, great. Let me get your address. So I send them an address, get their address if I don't already have it. And then a little while later, then I'll say, do you know anybody who would want to earn extra money with Scentsy? That is it. And it opens the door wide open. And it has stepped up my recruiting game, because I was on, remember the whole plateau? The recruiting I was in the struggle bus big time. So if you're on that struggle bus for recruiting, that's a great tip that I absolutely love. Okay, and then the last tab of my binder is just like my to-dos, and then like the reports that I pull on a regular basis and things like that. So I lie, that's not the last thing. It was the last tab that I labeled, but I have more. The power hour. This is where, especially y'all in the summer, if you have kids at home or whatever your summer looks like, it's really hard to stay focused if you are not intentional with your time. So this, I'm going to take it out of my binder so you don't have to break your neck anymore. This is from the workstation. It's a daily power hour. And I challenge you guys to do this every day. Every day that you're sitting down at your office, you could get so much more work done in 1 hour if you just were very intentional with your time. So if you're not already doing that, and if you have a team, I challenge you to challenge them to do the same thing, because I promise you guys will get way more done. And so what we've started doing, it's a lot of fun, is that once a week we get together as a group and we do a power hour together. So we kind of do booking blitzes together. They're a lot of fun. We do booking blitzes together for half hour where we're all on a Zoom like this. We just mute each other, but we hold each other accountable. It makes it a little bit more fun. It's like you have somebody to do it with. So grab a friend, grab an accountability partner, and do your power hour together once a week. Have somebody that'll hold you accountable for that. Okay. I thought there was, the last tip that I wanted to share with you. One other thing too is, again, this used to work for me. This was so last summer. This is not this summer, but I thought I would print it and show it to you. But this is like, I had a week 1, I would do this. Week 2, I would do that. Week 3, I would do this. So this is just in an Excel spreadsheet, and I can send these over. I have all of this stuff in Google Docs. So I can send it to Jessie. She can put it on y'all's page if you want. But find something that will work for you and use it. And some of these tasks obviously are not going to be applicable to you, but they are to me. So it just keeps me consistent with my recognition, with my mailers, with everything else. And so remember I told you, I wanted you to write down 3 things that you're going to implement. And this goes for everything, with all the things you're learning at the expo and the breakouts and the rest of the week with Scentsy Family Reunion, is find something and implement it for 30 days at the bare minimum. Make sure you master that before you move on to the next task, because if not, you're not going to be as successful as if you were to do that. So don't get on information overload, and really be consistent. When you're consistent with something, you're going to see results. So like Jessie was talking about at the beginning, if it's basket parties that you have, highlight that in a certain color. And then if that's where your business is lacking right now, then master that. If it's recruiting, master that before you move on to the next thing. So the last thing is, I want to just talk to you guys about my sponsoring binder, because and this is actually going to get moved to a big binder, okay? Because I found some things that I wish I would have different, so I'm going to move them. But this is just a binder of everybody that I talk to, and I ask, ask them to join type of a thing. They never get out of this book until they tell me no or they join. That's it. So, and this is, it's small enough that goes with me everywhere, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to transfer it to a big binder so that I can alphabetize them. Because what's happening is I'm like, oh crud, I need to go to her, and I'm flipping through pages and I'm wasting a lot of time. So I'm going to put, this is my thinking. Hold please. All right, so in my team binder, oh, I didn't tell you my team binder, did I? Oh, I think I forgot. Sorry, squirrel. Okay, so what I envision on doing is, okay, remember I told you I got these at the dollar store. Then I get these just at the whatever office supply store. But do you see how this is a little bit bigger than these? So I could still, this is like a big tab and these are like sub tabs. So I think I'm going to have sub tabs with A, B, C, D, E, F, G, so I can alphabetize my sponsoring list. Does that make sense? Okay, so it is almost 6:30. Is this important to you? Because I don't mind spending the time. Team binder? Yes? Okay, cool. So hold on. Yeah, this is going to get serious. Not really. It is some serious weather out there. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's frightful. Okay. Here's my team binder, and I make all the flyers on Canva because I'm not super creative, so I just Canva it. I love my daily affirmations, and I'm sure Becca, I got this from Becca Levi because she's amazing. So I'm sure she's talked to you guys before, but I write down all the things that just kind of motivate me, that boost me up. So when I'm having those rough days where I don't want to do anything, that's where I look to. Okay, so I have a tab for new consultants. And in the new consultants, I have a new consultant checklist. So I write their names, and then here. And again, I will get all this stuff to you guys. So it's new consultants. You would just put their name and then checklist. And things that I do might not work for you, so you can just use this as a guide, or you can totally implement it. It's your business to do what you want with it. The next one is my team member guide. So these are not like my front line. This is, and remember I told you I'm in between binders, so that's why it's not filled out. So this is my new team member tracker. So this is anybody on my team that I've not personally recruited, so that I can keep track of them. Now another one is a reinstatement tracker, because again, I treat reinstatements like they're brand new consultants, because they kind of are. Then the next tab, you're gonna have to break your neck again. Oh, and I have 5 dogs and they're about to bark. Anyway, this is a frontline tab. Okay, so then in my frontline tab, I have it broken up by title. So I have essential, certified, lead, star, superstar, director, star director, superstar director. Anyway, and then in here, let me just show you this one. I have my frontline focus. So this has just got their name. It tracks their sales, their team, their title. So that way I remember like when they've promoted, and then the notes, like if I've sent them stuff. Then on the back, now I don't fill these out for everyone. I mean, you could, if you started from the very beginning, that would be great. But again, my systems have evolved over time. So the only time that I fill these out is if I do coaching calls with them. So if I do coaching calls with them, I get to know them a little bit more, and then I start to fill this back out. And it's stuff like your husband's name, your favorite color, their birthday, their favorite restaurant, because then I know what to do when I need to send them an incentive or something. It has like their why, has their why changed, yada, yada, yada. All right. So that's that. So I have all of them by title. Then the next tab, and if y'all have questions, just interrupt me. The next tab is team by title. Okay, so this is all my non-frontline. This is just my team, and I have them broken out by lead, star, and superstar. I don't do essential and certified. You could, I just don't. Because I have a nice little report in the workstation that takes care of that. And then I have another one, dash to director. I'm sorry, my dogs. Hold on, I'm gonna mute you so I can yell at my kid to get up. He's like, I'm sorry. Okay, and then I just have little things, y'all, like in the back. kind of a work in progress, but team goals. So I keep track of my team's goals. So especially like my stars and superstars and directors, I want to know what their goal is, because it's not always what my goal is for them. It's what their goal is. Also, because I'm a squirrel, I have to keep track of what incentives I'm doing, because I forget that let's do this incentive, and then I forget. So I have to write it down. We have too many things to remember. Let's see. I think the rest of it is just coaching call stuff. So like I have a coaching call checklist. So if you're a leader, you really should be doing coaching calls. So I have a coaching call checklist, and I color code it. I love color. So the highlighted ones are the ones that showed up. The ones that are orange are they stood me up, or they didn't fill out their paperwork, or whatever the case may be. So that's my coaching call form. Let's see. That's really it. Wait, how did I forget this one? This is in the wrong place. Your business subscriptions, because if you're like me, you have a subscription for everything, and you're like, oh, where'd that money come from? So anyway, I have all my subscriptions in a nice little thing. Oh, that's why, because this is in my budget one. I didn't really go through that one too much. So that's what I have. I hope that was helpful for you guys. But like I said, the most important thing is create a plan and be consistent and be very intentional with your time. And you're going to see you're going to be way more focused, and you're going to get a lot more accomplished in a much smaller amount of time when you do that. Take it from me, because I learned the hard way. Anyway, any questions?
Well, first, I just want to say I just love you so much. And I have my 3 things I'm going to implement. You know what you said about how I loved how you said that you put one thing on your desk and what you're going to work with. Just this past week, I went through like this seminar, and I cleared my desk off just so I can focus on that. And do you know how much that helped me? And I didn't think to continue to do that until you said that. I'm like, why did I not think about that? Because it's so true. You're so zoned in and focused, instead of all these like side things, think, oh, I need to do that, and oh, I need to get to that, and so you're just laser focused. So I love that you said that. And on that same thing, something else I've been doing that is amazing is that I put this away unless I need it when I'm working on a task, and I shut off social media. Oh, I love that. Yeah, because it's so funny. We talk about, I think when we're trying to help newer consultants kind of get things, we're just like multitask, like, sticker your catalogs while you're watching a TV or whatever. You're trying to like get them to do stuff. But then when you really are trying to build a business and zone in, multitasking is not effective. You do need to focus, and you do, like you said, that power hour, you get so much more done when you're laser focused, instead of trying to like put out, juggle all these balls, and you feel like you never got anything done. So I love that you said that. I want to, if you guys have any questions for Kelly, I'm not going to take up all the time with her. Can you just unmute yourself and ask away? You can raise your hand, and I can unmute you. It's up
yes,
to
Melissa.
Hi, I'm Melissa. Thank you so much for sharing all your nuggets of information. I've been doing SFR videos all day, and so it was nice. Some of the things that you touched on were things that I had learned there, but you kind of went into a little bit more in depth, and so I was so excited. Thank you. I had a question about your sample request. You said that you make a bunch of samples, and then I really liked how you don't give them an option to say no. Like, I love that. I love that so much, and so I'm totally going to do that, because I like to sneak attack people, and that's kind of a sneak attack. That sounds bad, but I don't mean it that way.
No, but yeah, I mean,
they would really love it if we gave it to them. They just don't know it yet. So you had said that, so then you said that you make all the samples, and then you ask them, do you want fresh or fruity or whatever, like you're making? And then later on you said, did you say, do you know anyone that would want to make some extra money? What was the verbiage that you used for that?
Yep. Okay, so and I actually have it written on my binder, because I mean, it's very simple, very easy. So just, hey, so-and-so, I have a quick question. have you, or this is when I'm asking them directly, but you could just say, what I say with the sample request is, do you know of anyone that would be interested in making extra money with Scentsy?
Okay.
And you can even take it a step further. Castellitis does this too. You can even take it a step further and say, and earn cash back on all your purchases.
Ooh, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
So clear.
Yeah. Yeah, because, you know, especially if they're buying a lot from you anyway. So, and okay, I'm sorry. Pink squirrel. Another thing is who I got this from, her name is Rachel Field. Anyway, she says she likes to recruit, like she likes to send about 50 to 100 messages all at one time, because she likes to recruit like 10 at a time. So that way she could train them all at one time. And I was like, oh yeah, duh. I'm going to recruit 10 at a time. I used to back in the day.
They all show up to the same meeting.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Train them at the same time. That would be amazing.
Yeah. But anyway, so just send that out to a lot of people. And I want to know how it goes for you. So tell Jessie to tell me. Like, report back to her on how that's going for you.
I'll send her.
I'm going to do that too. Believe me, the sample.
Same.
I'm not good with that type of thing. So I'm so glad that you brought that up. I love that.
And my part B to that question was, how long, like, so do you send them the sample and then they receive it and then you ask? Or is it just kind of like, you know, do you want fresh or fruity? Oh, by the way, do you know?
Okay, so it's going to depend. I just kind of, two things. One is I never like to just message people randomly unless I've seen either, if I've had a conversation with them, then I will. It's all about relationship building. So sometimes if I have never private messaged them, I will go through their Facebook and look at what's going on and then kind of strike up a conversation that way. Then say, hey, you know, I was thinking about you because I'm making a bunch of samples and I would love to send you, what would you like, fresh or fruity? So that, and then I kind of do that. So I gauge it. It's not a, okay, in 2 days, you're going to send them this. No, it's more of a case by case basis. So the way I do it, because I don't like to just people, is if I haven't talked to them ever, then I will just leave it, and I will probably let them get their samples before I message them, or at least put them in the mail, and then just in that conversation say, okay, all the samples have been mailed out. Hey, have you ever considered selling Scentsy, or do you know of anybody that would be interested in selling Scentsy, or whatever I just said. And so anyway, so that's what I do. Normally I'll just, once I've mailed it out, if it's a customer, then I'll just ask them, and then maybe in the next breath, you know, I'll give it some time. We'll go back and forth on a messenger, and then I will say, I'll follow up and say, hey, do you know of anybody that would be interested in earning extra money? And guys, this is the deal. I had to have a huge mindset shift. I used to have this mindset when I first started, and then somewhere it got lost in the way. And now I'm getting it back, is that we have a huge blessing in our lap. Don't hold it back, because especially right now with everything going on, there's people that have to homeschool their children and figure out how to get to a job. And like, why would we not be sharing this with people that we could help in this business? We have this. Don't hold it to yourself.
That always brings me back to that story that I heard when I first joined, is about how there was a lady that was like in direct sales, and she was loving what she was doing and selling like crazy. And like a year later, her friend says, oh, how have you been doing? She's like, oh my gosh, I love this business. It's done so much for me. And she's like, how many people are on your team? She's like, well, nobody. And she's like, well, why not? She's like, you're saying how much you love this business, but you're not sharing it with anybody. Isn't that kind of not fair? And that really opened my mind when I first started. I was like, that is so true. And this seminar I just went through, they talked about how so many people get into these businesses and they still hate the thought that they are in sales, but sales solves problems. So, you know, whether a product is solving a problem with, you know, their mind, because it creates emotions, in an unstable situation right now that everybody's kind of like, that it makes them feel good, or they've lost some income, so they don't want to spend all the money they normally do, so hosting. And then always the best product is to, well, how about you start making money off of your own purchases, like Kelly said, and then actually making some money off of the people that you already know that buy Scentsy, you know? So when we look at it that way, that we're actually solving a problem, and that we're doing it because we care, because we know it's something that can actually change somebody's life. And it may not have changed yours yet, but you don't know if the person you offer it to takes it and just, you know, rolls with it, and just it changes their life. So you always have to think about offering the product, the hosting and the opportunity as a gift that you're giving them. Like, I love the way you said that, Kelly, because it's so true. It's such a gift.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? I have a couple things I just want to make sure you guys caught that I think that are really important, that'll help you. I don't see any hands raised or anybody unmuting yet,
Cindy
but I love that you shared, Kelly, that your systems may change over time, and that, you know, what works today, if it's going to work, you're going to do it. That's the best system, but don't think that it's not going to ever change, and it may need to shift. And like, especially because we're all kind of changing the way we do things, but that's kind of the way Scentsy is. The way when you're working for yourself, there's never really a, this is what I do, and it's law. Like there's always, because your life, your family's going to change, the phase in your life is going to change. You know, what works for you now is going to evolve. And just like Kelly said, there's some things on her list that probably aren't going to really be attainable. I mean, what's the word? Apply to you right now, but maybe later they will. And just because you see that she does that, it'll be in the back of your Rolodex and be like, oh, when I do start to build a team, that'll be something that I can go back to, you know. And I'm excited to see your checklist because there's certain checklists that I need, like the reinstatement checklist. I love that you have that. I don't have that. I have some systems in place, but they're not solid enough. And I love that because I realize, I'm like, duh, I'm such a checklist person. Why do I not have that for reinstatements? And you're so right. They're just like brand new consultants, because they're starting from the beginning, and they have new goals and all that stuff. So I'm so glad you shared that.
Cindy had a question.
Yeah. Can you unmute yourself, Cindy? You need me to. I'm going to try to do it. Let me see. Yeah.
I'm going to mute. Give me 1 second. I have to make sure my husband's going to go get my daughter. Hold on.
Oh, that's important.
Yeah.
Her husband's amazing. He's the sweetest.
Phew, I'm glad I told him, because remember I told you I can only do half an hour because I have to go pick up my daughter. And
yeah. I'm so sorry. So
no, that's okay. But he happened to be home, so I was like, I'm glad I reminded him. He's like, oh my gosh, yes. So he's on his way.
So you're okay for another question? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Go ahead, Cindy. Sorry.
Okay, so you said that you just put like one thing on your desk at a time. You just move everything that's totally off to the side, or do you actually just like take it totally off your desk? Because I find myself doing that, or like in my day job, I'll be doing something, somebody IMs me or emails me they need help, so I drop what I'm doing and I go and I finish that, and then I come back, and a lot of times you lose your train of thought, right? And you have to start all over again.
Yeah. So, okay. And so right now is not a great time for me to show her, because I was at the end of the day, I try to clean it all off so that I start fresh the next day. Mm-hmm. So I have on this, so you'll see here, all this is like my binders, and this is like all my junk over here. So it depends what I'm doing. So if I'm working on something that doesn't require computer or social media, then I clear this space off over here, because my computer is right here in front of me. So then that way I'm just focusing here at the task at hand. If it's something to do with computer, then I put all my binders and everything over here, so where I'm just on this side of my desk. Now, you said, you mentioned a good point, and I said it at the end, is that I've turned off Facebook. That has made a world of difference, because exactly, somebody will PM me and say, I need help, or I have a question, And it's so quick because the notification goes off that I just like, okay, I'll answer it. And then I come back and it takes me 5 minutes to remember where I was or get my mojo back, and I've lost it. So really, if you've taken nothing from today, take that. And if it doesn't require my phone, then I will actually put it on airplane mode, because I have children here. So if there's an emergency, my mom or my in-laws or my husband, whatever, somebody will call my kids. So I put it on airplane mode. I turn it upside down, so I don't even see it. It's so much better, because what was happening is that I was spending all my time in the office and I was not spending any time afterwards. I was working 14-hour days because I was not organized and I was all over the place. So now I'm working 11-hour days, still working a lot of hours. I'm sure you guys are too. It's really crazy. I'm still working a lot of hours, but I'm getting to a stopping point.
One of the biggest things that I learned, this happened to me, is that I had to close Facebook, because now once they changed, years ago they didn't have that, but then they switched it over that if your Facebook's open and somebody messaged you, it looks like you saw it. And I had this team member message me, like, I know you saw my message. Why are you ignoring me? And I wasn't even looking at Facebook, but it was behind what I was doing. And so I was like, oh my gosh. And so I realized I have to, when I'm doing something, this is what I'm doing. And Facebook and what I've had to train myself to not even look at text messages unless I know I have time to actually respond, because you forget, you're like, oh yeah, I'll get to that in a second. And then you go do something else and you completely forget. And then you realize you never responded to somebody and you feel really bad. And so there's so many tiny little things you can tweak that really make a difference in your time, that makes you more focused, and you don't feel so, like you don't know if you responded to that person, or, oh my gosh, now what did I just get done doing? Now I don't know where to start up again. So yeah, those are like the most time saving things.
And sometimes honestly, like, it's better to do all the things in one day. So if you do a bunch of mailers, do all the mailing in one day. So if you have a team, mail for your team, mail for your customers, mail for your hostesses, all that in one day. And then the next day, I've really tried to do that. So then the next day is like just my team. Now, of course, my customers are going to call and they're going to need stuff, and that's fine. But that's not my number one priority that day. So then I will get back to that. I will get back to my customers. And then the next day is just my customers and booking parties and hostesses. And my team, of course, needs stuff. But then again, that's not priority. So they get pushed down till the lower end of the priority. So one thing that's on my power hour, I told you guys, I do this every day faithfully. This is how I start my day. I write down, before I leave my desk, I write down the top priorities that I have to get done the next day. If I get nothing else done, then that's okay. I have my power hour. I at least feel accomplished. Everything else is extra. And then I lost my train of thought. But anyway, you get the point. Is just being very, very intentional with your time. And if you only have 4 hours a week to spend on your business, making samples is probably not the most effective thing you could be doing. I always tell my team that if you have 4 hours, the most important things that you need to do with your 4 hours are booking parties, sponsoring conversations, customer service, following up, meeting new people, building your network. I mean, all the other stuff is extra, but you make sure you're focusing on the core things before you add in all the cutesy little things that people are doing with. I mean, you could get overwhelmed and then you don't have time to actually implement anything. So just do.
That's so true. I love that. Anybody have any that I missed that?
Melissa has her hand up.
Okay, let me unmute. Go ahead, Melissa.
I'm sorry, I have another question. I have lots of questions, but I'm a sponge and I'm excited. You mentioned something, and it's kind of a squirrel thing, because you mentioned something very briefly. It wasn't anything that you were training on, but you're talking about systems, so I would like to know. You had mentioned mail for your hostesses. That's one of the things that I'm missing. I haven't been able to do any like outside of state, like outside of city parties, because I keep hearing consultants that will mail stuff, but I don't have a system, and I don't know how to really, when I search for systems for hostesses, like I get more like home parties and like Facebook parties, but I don't like, what is your system for mailing to your hostesses? Like, do you have a timeline for when you mail it to when you do a party, or how do you figure that out?
Okay, so online parties are my jam right now. And I personally think that because COVID has happened, it's forced me into doing, I hated online parties, and it's kind of forced me to do that. So what I do is about, I don't, so there's times, y'all, where I might seem like I have it all together. I don't. Nobody ever has it all together. I try to get my hostesses 2 weeks in advance.
Okay.
The big word is try. A lot of times it's a week in advance, and they're getting stuff either quickly, or I'm just emailing them stuff. The best thing that Scentsy ever did for us is get that digital catalog, and it was just in the nick of time, because most of my hostesses get that. But when I was talking earlier in my scroll, I was talking more about thank yous and like extra stuff after the party. But what I will always do for my hostesses is I will send them like this showcase brochure, and I always send them samples. So that's when I do basket parties, or like catalog parties, when they're going to actually have a gathering. I've done a lot of different types of parties where I'll do a Zoom party, because a lot of my customers are out of state and are out of city. So I will do a Zoom where I mail the hostess like the showcase brochures for everybody. I will only typically mail one catalog, because they're kind of expensive and heavy, and remember I told you I'm frugal. So I will mail like one catalog, and then I'll mail some showcase brochures. Depending on how many people she has that she's going to invite, I'll mail samples for everybody with my business cards. I will mail her some order forms. Let's see, what else do I mail? Oh, I also mail a wish list, because it's really, really important that she builds a wish list, because that helps her party when she has something she's working toward. And then what happens is that they'll all get together in a group setting, and then I'm here, and so I'll just do a demonstration via Zoom in their living room. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So anyway, she kind of has the gathering, but now COVID is kind of made a big disaster of all the things. So now I mail it to all of her guests that she's inviting. I mail them individual stuff. So I'll mail them a showcase brochure with some samples. And sometimes I'll send an order form, but mostly not, because they're just ordering online anyway. But I personally hate shopping online. I am not an online shopper. I like a catalog. I like paper, and I like to have it in my hands. And so I assume everyone's like that, and I mail stuff. But y'all don't think you have to do that. You work with what your budget is, and grow into that. Use the resources that Scentsy has for us, because they have a lot. We just have to discover them. So but what I was talking about earlier is I mail thank you gifts. So I will mail them. Oh, that's another thing. Anyway, I'll mail them like a handwritten card that says thank you. And maybe I love laundry, so I like mailing the laundry samples and stuff. And then hold please. Now you get to see my mess. I mentioned I homeschool, so we're in between moving to the new year. I also do these on my little Cricut machine. So I mail these to all the guests, these are scratch off little like lottery ticket thingies. And you can do them if you don't have a Cricut. Just get one of those big humongous hole punch thingies like at Hobby Lobby or something, and you can they have squares or circles or stars or whatever, and you can get these little guys on Amazon, so you can just make it up whatever you want. Half of these say sorry you're not a winner. Some of them say free sample of free scent of the month bar. Some of them say free scent circle, whatever. So I will send these to my hostesses also, and anybody that orders online, I send these to them as well.
What is that made out of? Everybody I know has a Cricut but me. I need to get one. So what is that made? Does that make what's it made out of? Is it paper?
This is just like cardstock.
It is cardstock. Okay.
Yeah, it's cardstock. And I have the shape of the bar. And yes, you need a Cricut machine because you're going to need write-offs since we're not traveling. This is a good write-off.
Right?
Yes. And so so the Cricut, you will just program it to cut it. So it just cuts it for you. I don't have it printed for me because I don't like to waste all that. Like it's a marker. I just print these and then I just have them cut it. But these things, hold please and watch my mess again. These little guys, the scratch offs, I just get them on Amazon. They're called silver 1-inch round circle scratch offs. So anyway, and you can just, you don't have to be fancy.
I have to look into that because I use those too. I love those. But I really need to do the Cricut thing. So Nina wants to know if you have a template for the bar for the Cricut. Could you send that to me by chance?
Yes.
That would be amazing. Thank you, my friend.
I do.
Yeah, and any of those checklists that I know we all are so busy. If you have time to drop me an email with those, I would love to see them.
I have them on my Google Drive. So
you did say that. Okay, if you don't mind sending me the link to that, I know they would all love them as well because, checklists are just how we stay in check. One thing I wanted to comment on is that so I have a bunch of binders for all my customers and my team members, and everybody is alphabetized. I never thought to alphabetize my recruiting binder that you just said. I was like, duh, because you're so right. When you were going through the flips, I was like, that is always me, trying to find the person. What was the conversation? And I'm like, how the heck did I never think to do that? So I am so grateful that you said that, because it was just because I literally have everybody's name alphabetized by their first name because I remember them by their first name.
Right.
And so I'm like, how did I not think that? So so big.
I know, because it was a huge time waster, big time waster.
Right? Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm in the process of revamping because the whole thing, what worked for me even just 3-4 months ago is not working for me right now. Exactly. So I'm transforming all the things.
So I wanted to say really fast how you were talking about how COVID's made us, really have to change a lot. The one thing that I've noticed is, and then this is something that they talked about in my seminar, is that COVID has actually been the blessing of time. That how many of us have been running around. I wish I had time to just sit down and make a binder, you know what I mean? And do something like that. So it's if we look at it as a gift of time that we don't normally have and really start implementing things. So when the things start getting busy again, we have everything kind of in place. So I know that Kelly needs to go, but I think that if you guys seriously take 3 things, like she said, that you will just, focus on, master, and what that means is repetition and consistency, because repetition creates muscle. And then you start to, when you get off track, which we all do, like Kelly shared, I've been through it, we're like machines in the beginning, we're doing our things, then all of a sudden something changes, and it's if we stop doing certain things. But repetition helps us get back into something a lot faster the next time than the first time we tried to kind of build that repetition. So if you focus on, sorry for that sound, that's my dog door going back and forth. If you focus on the 3 things something that really stood out to you, which I'm sure there was a lot that you wrote down, but just narrow down 3. And then once you master them by feeling confident that you know what you're doing with that certain area, then you can go back to your notes for today and say, okay, what do I want to implement next?
And teach it. The teacher in me is going to say that teach it to, if you have a team, teach it to your team. If you don't, teach it to the team that you're on. Yeah. Because when you can teach it, it gets it in your brain even that much more.
Absolutely. That's something they said, the very last thing in my 4-day, 12-hour seminar, they said, when they said they take notes like you're going to teach it. So you know how to actually give it back to people instead of just being like all these things in your mind and all over the place. And then like, because it's like, what good is it? And that's one of the biggest mistakes I made for a long time, you guys, is that I went to all these amazing seminars and reunions and everything. And I had all this great information that I was still trying to process myself. And I went out and did a lot of it, but I was so boggled, I didn't know how to regurgitate it back to somebody else. And hello, if I have a team, they're not growing if they're not learning new things, right? And I'm not going to grow if I'm spending all this money on things to learn if I'm not passing it on to other people. So that's I'm so glad you said that, Kelly. But I don't want to take any more time. It already took 30 minutes longer than I said that it would be. I'm so sorry.
No,
So
I enjoyed it. I hope that you guys enjoyed it.
Oh, I think it was awesome because you were so like this, and this. And like Melissa, she loves all those tools. So all of us were like, yes, okay, I can do this. So thank you so much, my sweet friend.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, guys. Love you
Bye.
all. Bye.
Bye,
Have fun at reunion.
I know, right?
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Bye.